Welcome in, friends. My name is Ed,
And I'm Israel.
and today we're going to be talking about the 1977 film Orca, also known as Orca the Killer Whale, directed by Michael Anderson. And first off, are you familiar with Ennio Morricone,
I'm not now.
the composer? Well, Ennio Morricone is an Italian composer. He did a bunch of spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, the other Dollars trilogy movies. If you've ever heard a Western soundtrack or just have an idea of what that is in your head, it's probably Ennio Morricone. He's been ripped off so many times too in video games especially, because I think they're just like, dude, Ennio Morricone is not going to play Dark Watch on PS2. Like, we're safe, you know? But
Yeah, yeah.
they rip him off in Dark Watch. I was just playing that. But the movie is, I believe it comes out 3 years after Jaws, and a bit of an inspiration from Jaws, certainly, but I think it really is its own movie. And the very first scene, we get this gorgeous Ennio Morricone music with the whales just leaping majestically and splashing down, and they're swimming around. They look like they're hugging too. They're like swimming around
Yeah.
and
Oh
playing
yeah.
and
You can
hugging.
just you can almost tell that they're in love, which is like
Yeah,
sweet that
that's
they
it, it is. And from what we learn from the movie about the female has the hook fin and the male has the straight fin, like it was a male and female, and they're like
yeah.
playing. They're like in love. They're probably the couple that we see, the two whales that there was two whales that were like the main actors in the movie. It's probably those two, but it's such a beautiful screen, a beautiful scene. It's just something that you have to see. Really, they're
Yeah.
out in the ocean. The sunset is right there. The music is going. Ennio Morricone is brilliant at this sort of vocal choral thing. He likes to use whistling. He likes to use the choral voices, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. It was beautiful and such a like the complete opposite of the beginning of Jaws, where it's so ominous and scary
Hmm.
and it's like such a cool way to open a movie. And just such a beautiful. And it's interesting actually about that dorsal fin, how it's like, bent over. Like they don't really know what the cause of that is, but usually when they're in captivity, it's way more prevalent. So it's just interesting. I mean, obviously it's
Hmm.
like, like when they're in captivity, their dorsal fins like go, it's like some sort of like calcium deficiency or something. But it's just
Oh,
interesting
that's
that
weird.
like, yeah, it's kind of a cool thing, but like it happens mainly with like whales in captivity. So it's just like obviously they had to do it with whales that were in captivity, but it's just like a cool little like fact that you just know about for whales. Yeah,
So we segue from this fantastic, majestic, happy scene to a shark, and we'll just call this
yeah,
shark Jaws. This is Jaws, and they have the tense sort of Jaws music. They're not doing like the actual theme, but it seems like
yeah.
the
Well, they
orca's
have that scuba
playing.
diver.
Hmm. The orca's playing was like, this is great. You see a shark,
Yeah.
and now it's like, that's what the music is
Hmm.
saying. And there's a diver down there, and she sees the shark. She has to hide. It's actually pretty funny. She hides in the little coral reef and tries to put a rock in front of her face or something. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but the shark seems to see her. And then we jump out of the water, or the camera, the viewer leaves the water, and now we see this fishing boat, and they're hunting the shark.
Well, I think the boat was going towards the dinghy or whatever the diver's boat. And so like the other guy was like, "Hey," like trying to wave it down, and then eventually the diver is like coming up, and then the fishing boat sees that group, and then they're like, "Hey, hop on," or whatever. And for whatever reason, it was very strange that she just like happened to get on that boat.
Yeah, they see the two of them, and for some reason they pull her onto the boat, and she
Yeah, but the
just
other guy just stays. Like it
the
was
other guy
weird.
stays and then just tumbles out of the boat.
Yeah.
and the shark, and then suddenly he falls out of the boat, and then like in within 1 second, his little raft gets like 50 feet away, and the shark is coming, and he's trying to swim away from the shark, and you're like, here we go, like Jaws is starting,
Yeah.
right? Like this is a complete ripoff.
Like da da da.
Enter Orca. Orca makes his fucking call, or I'm not sure if it's the male or the female in this situation, but one of the whales makes her call and just charges and hits Jaws, just nose bashes Jaws, launches him completely out of the water and just destroys him. She must have like completely demolished all its internal organs. It's just like oozing blood from this one hit, and you're just like, what the fuck just happened? And everyone on the boat is looking like, what the fuck just happened? And the woman goes, only one creature in the world could have done that. The killer whale. And then you're like, yes, this is the
Uh-huh.
movie that I wanted.
Absolutely.
Orca
Yeah.
eats Jaws for lunch. I love that they just destroy Jaws within the first
Yeah.
10
Right
minutes of
away.
the movie. And the whale is also like 3 times the size. It's
Yeah. Well, and it's especially because like Jaws, the movie, like put, sharks and great white sharks on such a high top of the food chain pedestal
mhm.
that like this movie just knocked that shark down a peg, like which is rightfully so. I mean, great, orcas do kill great whites. I mean, that is like that's just nature. And so it was just so interesting to like that their depiction of it was just so cool and just like and even like done well. Like the like,
It's all done so incredibly well. I
yeah,
was
like it looked
expecting it to
great.
be more
Like
like a B movie, but it's
absolutely.
actually done really well. None of the
Yeah.
scenes look corny. That none of the kill scenes look corny.
And so after that scene, does it cut to that lady in the classroom, right? And then she's
Yeah.
just like talking about like
It
whale
cuts
facts and stuff
to
and like
the woman who was the diver. She's apparently some sort of professor or marine biologist or something like this, and she's in her classroom just lecturing the students about killer whales. And so we learn a little bit about the killer whales. It's pretty good, and I really love her character. This is the actress. Her
same.
name is Charlotte Rampling. She's got this great hot teacher thing going on, as well as being a very strong, knowledgeable, very straight laced, zipped up kind of woman. She plays the part perfectly for what she's trying to do,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she functions as not only sort of a moral center, but also as like a narrator and a translator for the whales. She's always
Yeah.
saying, this is what the whale is doing, this is what he's thinking, this is their their family mating patterns and rituals, like this is what's going on. And probably the funniest thing about her little speech, that the very last thing she says is that whales would probably think that humans are retarded. Like that's what she
Yeah.
that's what she fucking says.
That's like the
And
end that was like
you're
the
just
end of
like,
that.
yeah, that's the end of her educational speech to a classroom of students.
Yeah. Well, and it because it like showed the whale's brain compared to like other
Mhm.
animals, including humans, and so that was like a really cool like depiction of all that stuff. And then naturally ending it with, well, clearly their brain is so big that they're just completely, yeah, more intelligent and yeah, so funny. Just humans are
Yeah,
retarded
the
compared to
put down that
them.
she says, for whatever reason, it makes more sense for her to put down perhaps the sailor or something like that specifically,
Yeah,
but just
yeah,
in the classroom for her to say that is, it was super funny.
just such a 70s like,
Yeah,
yeah,
or
so good.
only Eminem says that in the 2020s. But
Yeah, yeah,
so we go from there to the sailor and his crew, and they are planning to now go out and hunt a killer whale. And he's mad at her because they were hunting that shark. And he's like, you know how much money we could have got for that shark? $1,000 a foot. And that shark was 50 feet. Like, he's
yeah,
like, that
yeah.
shark was 25 feet. Fuck it. She was 40 feet. And so he's really mad at her. But now he says, well, we can go get those whales and make some money off those. And she is trying to convince him not to. And he's just kind of flirting with her. There's actually, it starts again, the narration thing. She drives up to the little beach where he's at, and she's narrating. And she's narrating in past tense whenever she does this too. And she's talking about the sailor, the actor's name is Richard Harris, and how he's been coming into her classroom and asking all this stuff about the whales and also asking about her apparently. And when she shows up, of course, he's flirting with her a lot, and she's having none of it. That's the very like zipped up teacher thing that I'm talking about, where he's just like flirting right in her face, and she just not having any of it. Like she refuses. She refuses to even like tell him to shut up. She just lets him sort of bask in his stupidity when he says stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, she can't convince him uh, to not hunt the whale. This is what he wants to do.
Well, and she kind of explains as well that the whales hunt in packs and they have really good connections with each other. And like, like she really builds that up so that you
Mhm.
can kind of understand what happens next, where she's like, hey, they have relationships, they mate for life. They're like, like very like she puts in some really important information for the next couple scenes because like which
Yeah,
is just
in her classroom scene, she talks about how they mate for life, how they're passionate, but they're also vengeful. They have all the extremes. So they're very dangerous, but they can also be man's best friend, she says as well. But all this information does set up further things. And like I said, she acts as like a translator for the whales, and it really works well because I normally don't like this kind of narration thing, but her character, her voice, her personality, and also the necessity to sort of give the whales a little bit more of a voice is what makes the narration work so well.
well, it's believable from a character like her.
Hmm.
Like you believe it. Like you believe that she would probably be having these conversations whether it's being filmed or not. Like this character made sense, and so her like expressing all this information and the fact that she was a teacher, like her like teaching all these facts about the whales, like it just worked out really well, and just was so done really well.
Now we cut to them out on the hunt, and they see the pack of whales. The Richard Harris, who is very Irish. I was not sure at
Yeah,
first. I was like, where is this filmed? Like, this dude is super, super Irish. I thought they were going for the Richard Shaw kind of thing from Jaws, how he has
yeah.
a heavy accent. But his accent to me was so slow and drawling that he just sounded like a sailor to me. Whereas this dude just sounds super Irish.
Well, I believe, and maybe I could be wrong, but I thought he mentioned that like the money that he was getting was going to get him home. Like I think that was kind of the plan. But
He did, yeah. He said he wanted
yeah,
that his father came here or something, and then he wanted to pay off the boat and be able
so that
to
he could go
go
back
back
to
to
his
Ireland.
homeland or
But
something. Yeah,
not not only did the accent didn't, but maybe there's a bunch of Irish in Newfoundland too. Like I don't know, but his outfit, man, he's just dressed. I thought he was like 70 years old at first. He's dressed like a
yeah.
grandpa. He's got this weird knitted sweater, even though he's out in the ocean, and a little hat. Like
Hold out there, dude.
he looks either like an old grandpa or like a 1920s golfer or something. He's got like the baggy pants, and then he's got like the boots, uh, the pants tucked into the boots, and it looks like a golfer with his pants tucked into his socks or something. It was kind of
I
a weird
loved the
outfit for the first half of the
yeah.
movie.
I loved all the styles. Like I don't know if it's the 70s, if it's just like that's what sailors wore. Like I don't know, but like I loved all the outfits, like how ridiculous they looked. Like the girl's outfit, that lady's outfits, like she was like
Oh, she has
wearing like
some great
weird
pantsuit things and
like
stuff. Like
such crazy outfits. And I like I said, I don't know if it's from the 70s, if that's what it was, or if it was just like they just
Newfoundland
were
in the
like this
70s
world,
was,
Newfoundland, they just wear crazy outfits. Like it was, but either way, like I was living for it. Like I'm all for that. It was so like I love that cardigan, dude. Like I thought he as a character was just so rad, and his like it was believable that he was just this like this sailor dude who is just trying to hook up with chicks and being like, like, but like also had, you could tell that he wasn't like a dick.
yeah, he was a very human character, even
Yeah.
though he had so much personality, even though he's going to piss you off and stuff like that. Like he had so much personality. And his character goes through a massive arc and a massive range of emotions
Yeah.
throughout the movie. But so we're out there on the seas. They see the whales, and Richard Harris goes up there with the harpoon gun and launches a harpoon at one of the whales, nicks the male, nicks his fin, hits the female, and the screams of the whale
Oh
when
my
she got
gosh,
hit
I know.
were terrible. They were, and the actors are saying too, like they sound human, and it does. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
positive that those were real whale screams. It was all whale sounds. Like this is, they made a real point to have it realistic like that. That was not like people trying to act and make it seem more dramatic and do those screams. Like it was real recorded sounds from these whales. So the female is harpooned. They're dragging her in. She tries to kill herself by running into the propeller of the boat,
Yeah.
but they finally hoist her up. They hoist her up over the deck, and she has a miscarriage. She just spits this little baby orca out onto the deck.
Which they set up in the previous scene where they showed a fetus, which
Mhm.
was cool because it looked just like that.
In the school lecture scene, they showed a
Yeah.
picture of the orca fetus, and she says, "Look, it even has 5 fingers." And it was sitting there. It looked just like a little baby, a human fetus, with the little 5 fingers right here. And so the fetus falls out on the deck, and the look on Richard Harris's face of absolute disgust was
Yeah.
was was insane.
He
And
could
he,
not even handle it.
and
Yeah.
so he immediately runs and gets a hose and hoses the fetus off like it's just a pile of shit or like someone threw up on the deck. He fucking hoses it off. And this is the first instance of seeing the whale eye. They zoom
Oh
in.
my
I
gosh, dude.
believe it's the
Yes.
mother's eye because the angle, it was angled vertical and she was hanging upside down. So I believe it was her eye watching her baby get hosed off into the water.
Yeah.
And and he was so disgusted. He's standing there. He can't even move afterwards. And the other sailor dude who looks to be even older, he looks like Ernest Hemingway or something with his like white slicked back hair. He's a pretty cool looking dude, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
But he comes over and he's like, "Hey, relax, man." He puts his arm around him. He's like, "You flushed him. You flushed him." That's what they say about hosing the baby off the deck. You flushed him.
Yeah, dude. And then and is it shortly after that the scene where it shows the male whale just out of the water, and then it shows the scene of Nolan, him like the reflection of him, and it's like all red and it's like in the eye, and you could just see that moment. It's like that's when that whale knows like this guy is fucked. Like I am like you destroyed my family in such a small amount of time. And like that, like the music, like that whole scene, like it was just so intense. Like oh, it was so it
Mhm.
was just it was crazy.
Yeah, I believe that happens just a little bit later because now they're sailing back with the whale and the her mate is following, and the Richard Harris is he's so distraught and messed up after what he's just done and seen, and the whale is following them. He's ramming the boat.
He's ramming the boat, and then eventually it gets so bad that Nolan is like cut it down, cut it out, like get this thing off of my boat. He's gonna kill us. And then eventually, what is it? Is it Novak that is that dude? And he's just like out on there. He's like he crawls out and he's like trying to
Yeah, the
hack
older guy,
yeah.
the
He's
oldest
like
sailor
trying
with
to
the white slick back hair. He goes out to cut the whale off and does it. Well, first of all, he's like 70 years old. He gets
I
up on
know,
this
dude.
pole and he shimmies. He shimmies like 20 feet along the pole and then hangs with one hand to cut the rope and drop the whale off. And Richard Harris is like, you're okay out there? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then Orca comes, rushes up from the deep and just snatches him off, eats him, takes him down. And Richard Harris like doesn't have a reaction. It's really weird that when they turn
Yeah.
back to the people, some of the acting in the early parts of the movie, I felt like people weren't completely keyed in yet or something. Because like you just watch this dude you just watch the orca jump out of the water and snatch your friend and eat him, take him down. And literally all Richard Harris does is like wipe a little like thing. He has like no facial expression for it. He was more disturbed about the fetus than his friend
Yeah.
getting eaten by the whale. But they had to cut the whale off the thing because the well actually this wasn't super well explained until later, but Bo Derek, the young woman on the boat, which by the way, this is the only movie I've ever seen Bo Derek in. I know of Bo Derek as the sex symbol. In a couple years later, she would be in like sort of an erotic movie where the famous scene is she's like running in slow motion on the beach and she's got like the braids and the little shells in her hair, like the white girl with the braids and shells or whatever from the 70s erotic movie. That's what she's known for. But in this movie,
Yeah.
she's just part of the crew. She's the one guy's girlfriend. That's sort of her character. She doesn't do too much. But when the orca is ramming the boat, she falls down and apparently breaks her leg, even though she just kind of goes like, ow, like you don't notice that it happens
Yeah.
at the time. But then later she has a big cast on.
And so now that the whale is in the water, the orca, the male whale, pushes her. It's like pushing her along and is just like going towards. I don't know if they're like if all the whales are still with them or if it's just the one, but it's like as she's dying, he's like pushing the whale. And it was a long scene. Like that whale, that scene was long. Like just him, just that male whale just pushing this dead whale. Like it was
Pushing his
crazy.
mate with the Ennio Morricone really dramatic music. Again, we're
Oh yeah.
seeing the sunset in the background and all the groups. First, it's the group of whales, and he's pushing her, and she's still got the rope tied all around her, and she's still got the spear hanging out of her and gushing blood. It's she's not even dead yet, actually, but she's going to die. And it's a really, really long scene of him pushing her and the other whales mourning, everybody's mourning, you're mourning. Like you're
Oh
emotional
yeah.
about this watching
It's a
it.
it's a scene, definitely. It's a very emotional scene.
And we'll just call him Orca. Orca pushes her up on the beach where Richard Harris anchors his boat. Like, look at what you've done, and I remember. I'm going to come for you. And also, like you were saying, I don't exactly remember which order it was in, if it was after he cut her off or before, but there's the great scene of meeting face to face and seeing the zoom in on the eye, and you see the literal reflection of Richard Harris standing there, and they're looking eye to eye, and it's almost like a snapshot. They show it like that, where the whale is seeing him and like, I'm gonna remember.
Yep.
And he does. He pushes his mate's dead body, or she's not quite dead because she's still like heaving when they find her, but she's definitely dying and going to die. And he puts it right there where he can find it, and that's his sort of that's him saying that this isn't over.
then it's the scene of the woman who's just reading to the dead whale, right?
Hmm.
She's just like sitting on the beach, just like mourning the death, and also just like, like having a special little moment with this dead whale, just
Yeah.
chilling.
And I believe Richard Harris pulls up with one of the other dudes from the boat, and he sees her out there and the whale. And they get out of the car, and he's like, he doesn't know what to do. He's like a little embarrassed or nervous or whatever, and he tells him to go on, and he'll catch up. And he walks down there to have a conversation with Charlotte Rampling, and she's telling him basically what we were talking about before, that these whales, they remember. The whale saw you, and it did this on purpose. It put it here. He says, oh well, this is a far ways for the whale to have washed up. And she's like, no, he pushed her here. This is on
Yeah.
purpose. Isn't this where you anchored your boat last time? And it's a little weird here and in other places where you see like a little giddy sort of excitement where she's talking about the whale's humanity and sort of the vengeance that he's coming after. Like she's almost smiling sometimes when she's talking about it.
Yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
pretty interesting. But of course she loves whales, and she's even telling her students that humans are retarded compared to whales. So
Right,
she
right.
seems to have an extra sort of affinity for them. And also there is Will Sampson, who is this Native American dude. He does a great job of playing this wise spiritual guide. Although it is super funny how they're just talking, and this random 6'5" Native American dude just steps up out of nowhere and just starts talking, just starts lecturing about
Yeah,
the animals and the nature and everything. It's pretty funny, but works great. Works great as well.
absolutely.
After this scene, we go straight to the church, and Richard Harris and his buddy are it's like a little service for the dude who just died on the boat, the old white hair
Oh
man
yeah,
who
yeah,
got eaten.
yeah.
And the father comes over, whatever, to talk to them, and Richard Harris sends the other guy away. He's like, oh hey, I'll be back, or give me a minute, I need to talk to him. And he has this little conversation, and one interesting thing he says is, Father, do you think that a man can commit a sin against a whale or against an animal? And the father says, oh, well, you can commit a sin against a blade of grass, but the real sin is committed against yourself. And then you're just sort of sitting there with that notion, as Richard Harris is also, you're reading that on his face, and he kind of, oh yeah, okay, I understand, and puts his hat back on and goes back out to meet his friend.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of gives context of that Nolan character and how he was just like, my dad left me this boat. My dad left me Nolan. Nolan taught me everything I know about fishing. Like it was like kind of a father figure to him as well. Like you would think he'd have a bigger
Nolan
connection to
is
his
Richard
like,
Harris, is the
yeah.
captain.
No, Nolan. Yeah, Nolan is Richard Harris, and then Novak is the Novak is the older guy.
Well, in the thing, he calls him Gus to the father. So maybe he was using the first name with the
Yeah.
religious dude. But after we leave the church, we go now to like the port with the other sailors and fishermen. And Richard Harris is like, oh, hey, thanks for the tie. He just like rips it off and gives it to the other guy because that's not his style or whatever. And then the
Yeah.
main fisherman, dock worker guy, comes up and
Oh
starts
yeah.
talking to him. And this is sort of then, and just sort of starts applying a light pressure to him about like, hey, we grabbed your boat, and we got it anchored here. We're fixing it up. And he's just like, oh, well, thanks so much. Is there something that I could do for you? And the guy's like, well, uh, that whale out there, when we get these whales, they mess up all our fishing. They drive all the fish away. And he
Yeah.
starts talking about this is your whale, and they don't really put too much pressure on him here, but there's just a light amount of pressure, like, hey, you fucked things up for us, and we don't appreciate that. We're assuming that you're going to handle this, right? But he doesn't seem to think that it's his problem.
Yeah, he's like, that's silly. Like, what are you talking
Mhm.
about? Like,
My
it's not my
whale, like,
whale.
what are you talking about? Yeah, but
Yeah, it's just a whale. And they kind of insinuate that they want him to kill it, right?
they're
Yeah.
applying light pressure at this point,
Yeah, yeah.
and it will get heavier and heavier as the movie goes on. But now we go from here back to the beach where the dead female is, and they're hauling her off, and they're going to bury her. And Charlotte Rampling and I believe Will Sampson show up again for another sort of similar speech. Um, and I think Charlotte Rampling is trying to convince him, like, hey, don't go fight that whale. And he's like, I'm not. Like, that
Yeah.
whale has
Well, and
nothing to do with me.
he was drinking pretty heavily. He was clearly upset about the whole situation.
Mhm.
Like, you could tell that he's like,
Yeah, he's
he
clearly
just he feels
upset.
remorse about the whole thing. Yeah.
Remorse is a really good word because you read it on his face the
Yeah.
whole time, and it's a transition from, like, I don't care and bravado to, like, oh, maybe I care, to now I'm drinking to get all this shit out of my mind. And he's drinking
Yeah.
to get it out of his mind while they're hauling the whale away too. So it's kind of
Mhm.
a, a similar thing for those two things.
I think he's a little bit more sassy towards the other fishermen too, when he's just like, hey man, like, remember, like, we're making sure your boat's the first one fixed, like,
The fisherman
all
reappears
that.
here to put a little bit more pressure on him again. And of course, the women and Will Sampson are the Charlotte Rampling and Will Sampson are reinforcing the whale remembers you, and this is connected to you. This is your whale now.
And so then it's like,
The old the sailor, the fisherman who's applying the pressure, he says somebody spotted a whale with a nick in the fin out by the north point or whatever, just waiting.
yeah,
And that this is when Charlotte Rampling says, "Don't go out there to see that whale." And he's like, "Why would I? Why would I? I
yeah,
don't. That
yeah,
whale has
yeah,
nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to go fight that whale." But he does go out there and meets the whale face to face again and again, just like the first scene on the boat where they first meet face to face. There's the red flashing light, and almost every time that the whale pops its head up to look at him, it also screams. It's like opens its
yeah.
mouth and is just screaming at him, and it's super intense. And the flashing red lights and he, whenever he's face to face with the whale, he has almost no expression. He's not like mad, like I'm gonna take this whale on. He's not. He's very remorseful, and he at this point he almost like doesn't want to say anything, doesn't want to apologize or really acknowledge. It's just guilt and remorse on his
Yeah,
face, and it's
yeah.
very
Which is
strange.
which is interesting.
You don't understand it at first, but you start to understand it more as situations are explained.
And then there is that scene where the whale, like, he's out there and then the whale pops up, and then there's another, isn't it another eye scene where it zooms in on the whale eye, and it's like that sort of, you know,
It does
another little scene.
I believe it might show the reflection, and it's also showing these cool angles from the water where you're uh like POV, and the water is like splashing around like halfway up the camera, so it's like you're in the water, you're the whale looking at him.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
there's a scene where he builds the scarecrow, which is a separate scene where he goes to the pier and he builds the scarecrow. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what order it's in, but at a certain point he builds the scarecrow out of the thing. He puts his grandpa
Hat and
jacket and
cardigan.
hat on it, and then Charlotte
Yeah.
Rampling shows up and she's like, "It's a pretty good likeness, especially the head, because it's just got this
Yeah.
big stupid looking, giant blockhead." And now we really start to see the Richard Harris starting to come to terms with things. And he goes out there, builds the scarecrow. He's got a gun to shoot him. And Charlotte Rampling's like, "You coward, you're going to come out here and shoot him." And he's like, "Well, that's what I planned to do. I brought this gun to shoot him, one in each eye. But then I came out here and I realized that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I figured that I would just wait here for him to come and I would meet him face to face and say that I was sorry." And then we see Charlotte Rampling, of course, sort of like soften and realize that, like, oh, this guy isn't just a complete asshole like he's been acting, but he's a real human being. And now they're sitting in the tent together and he explains to her what happened with his family.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just thought it was really interesting how they did that. It was such a like how he essentially killed the wife and baby of the whale, and his wife and baby got killed by him as well. And so like them just tying it all together and like such a, cool, subtle, like, I mean, like it was super subtle. I actually went back and I was like, what did he just say? Like, because it was like so it just went so fast. Like it was just such a
Yeah.
scene where I didn't even like, you know, I just thought that was a cool sort of thing. And it just like really builds up his character. Like it just so many like his character is just such a strong character because like he's clearly so like, he's always hitting on this girl and he's just like this, joking kind of dude and like he's goofy looking and he's like whatever, but then like you just tell that he's actually super sensitive and he actually cares about the whales and is like he just didn't mean to do what he meant. Like he just tried to capture the whale. He didn't mean to kill the whale. He didn't mean to like have the whale have a, a miscarriage. Like he didn't mean to like do all this stuff. And it was just like a cool little scene
Yeah,
that
he has a
explained a
lot
lot about
of
his character.
range. And
Yeah.
of course, the scene is they're sitting in the tent there on the beach and he's explaining to her that him and the whale are the same, that he is that whale's drunk driver, that his wife and child were, well, his wife was pregnant when he says his wife and child. So his pregnant wife was driving. He says that she was leaving the hospital and got hit and killed by a drunk driver, and that this is what the whale is going through. And once you know that, you look back to the scene where the miscarriage happened, and maybe
Yeah.
it's not that strange disgust. Maybe it's this inner turmoil in him where he remembers his child, his unborn child that died.
Yeah.
So it really adds a little bit extra weight to some of the
And
beginning scenes.
they didn't have to do that, which I thought was, like that, like the movie made sense without it, but like, I'm glad they did. I think that was just adding that extra layer of just like, yeah, it was just great. I thought it was great.
So now Orca shows up and he just jumps up and he busts these pipes that are apparently pumping gasoline, and then he starts ramming the house or something and knocks over. This is how incredibly smart whales are, right? He knows that that's gasoline, and then he rams the house and knocks over a lantern that ignites the gasoline and fucking sets like the whole island on fire. And you're just like, what the fuck? When this scene happened, I was like, are you kidding me? This whale just did this? And then he starts jumping out of the water and like celebrating and shit. He's like popping off.
Oh my God, that
He's
was
splashing
so
everywhere. And
That was
Richard
such a
Harris runs
funny.
out and sees the whole island set ablaze. the fire runs up the hill to like a big gas tank where the storage was or whatever, blows
Yeah.
up the gas tank. Like everything is on fire. And the whale is just fucking jumping. He's just popping off. He's having a great time.
Yeah.
It's
Like
so
he's like
funny.
the idea that the whale knew what gasoline does is hilarious. Like that is like the most far-fetched thing in this movie, I'd
Yeah.
say.
That he set everything on fire like that. Like it wasn't like he
Like,
was just bashing stuff and it happened. Like he hit two
yeah.
things. He hit the pipes and then he hit the lantern off and,
Yeah.
and he
Like
sets everything on
like
fire.
the awareness of a whale knowing how much is happening on land is just insane. But amazing. Like it was so
It
funny.
was
Well,
great.
and so then this is when the Nolan character is just like panicking, right? And he's like telling his buddy, that's when you see the girl with the cast, and he's like, "Hey,
Mhm.
go get fill the truck, get gas, like we're getting out of here. Like go get gas." And then he goes to the gas station and all the sailors are like, "You're not getting anything from us. Like you only got one way out of here and it's through the water. Like you're not driving anywhere. Like you're totally fucked." And then he drives back, and then that's when they're like, the whale's pwned the house, right?
And at the gas station, the guy won't fill him up. He's like, "We don't
Yeah,
have any gas." And then he's like, "What are you talking about?" And Will Sampson is there and reaches out and grabs him. And now Will Sampson is wearing just like the coolest fucking coat that I've ever seen in my life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and another thing about that coat, we're going to talk about the coat, but a lot of times in movies they have characters wear these clothes that are so fucking clean that I'm like, no, like that doesn't exist in Dune. Like I'm not looking at that. Like look at how many miles you've trekked in the desert and your clothes are just perfectly clean and stuff. But Will Sampson is wearing a jacket that I think he owned. Like that jacket looked to be like 30 years old. It had so much
yeah,
wear on it and like so great jacket. But Will Sampson
absolutely.
tells him in his very spiritual guidance kind of way that the only way is to fight the whale. And I'm willing to be a part of your crew. So whether
Yeah,
Nolan, with or without me, Nolan has to fight the whale. And then he heads back to the house. But already at the house, Orca has shown up. And while Richard Harris is, and there's so many scenes that cut to the whale, and it's like this it's strange ominous
hilarious.
music between scenes with just
Yeah,
showing the whale underwater. And Richard Harris is out in the garage putting some supplies together. Bo Derek actually wants to go out with him. She says, "Hey, let me come with you." And she's on crutches. And he's like, "No, no." And he takes her over and sets her in the chair. And he's like, "You're going to have we have a long, bumpy ride ahead tomorrow because we're going to leave." And he
yeah.
sits her down in the chair and goes out to the garage. And while he's out there, Orca starts ramming the house, which is this house built on like stilts or whatever you would call them, right over the water. So it's ramming the wooden stilts and knocking the house into the ocean. And Bo Derek is in there. She's fallen all over the place. She can't get up. There, Richard Harris rushes back in. The younger guy who's her boyfriend or whatever gets back from the gas station, rushes in there. They're trying to save her. The whole house is tilted sideways. There's these really great shots of the sideways tilt, and the two guys
Yeah.
are like hanging onto the pole and they're trying to throw her like a net rope to try and save her, but Orca says no, no, and jumps out of the water and snatches her leg, her cast leg, by the way.
I
I
know,
don't know
right?
why he chose, he's like, oh, this is the leg for me, the one with the cast, but bites off her cast leg. And then you just see him swimming off, just still with the leg in his mouth. And Bo Derek is just out cold. She doesn't die, but she's like face first. She's screaming and screaming, but after the bite, she's passed out, lost so much blood or whatever, face first. And then as they're apparently people got there really quick to take her away because Richard Harris is still on the ground. And Orca after he just bit this girl's leg off, is again out in the ocean just doing backflips and shit, just jumping and having a blast.
Enjoy
And
it, jump with joy.
Richard Harris drags himself across the floor and is just screaming at the whale like, "You vengeful son of a bitch, you want revenge?" And he stands up
So good.
and yells at the whale that he's like, "You've got it, I'll fight you." And of course the whale is still just splashing around taunting him.
Well, and then that's when he essentially decides that he's going to go and go and fight this whale, and he assembles the crew.
They assemble the crew, and uh, they sail in the morning. And again, now we're getting these scenes where Charlotte Rampling is doing this narration, and it actually works maybe better now, because now as they're heading out to sea, it's almost like captain's log number 3. We headed out, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Like that's what she's doing, is like creating these logs for their seaboard adventure, right? So they head out. They have the whole crew. They got Will Sampson. Bo Derek is not there because she just got her leg bitten
Lost a
off.
leg.
But
Yeah.
everybody's there. Charlotte Rampling's diver friend from the first scene is there. I don't specifically know who he is. I think he's just like a colleague. He doesn't appear to
Yeah,
be
he's
like a
a
relationship or anything like that. But
no.
he's out there with them as well for some reason. He wasn't really part of the movie up
He didn't
until
really
then.
yeah. It was funny because I was thinking, who is that guy? But then when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes sense that it would be that guy. But I remember being like, dude, who's this dude in the red pants? Like, where did he come from?
Yeah, because even in the first scene, he's wearing the wetsuit, and like he might even have the wetsuit pulled over his head so you can't even see like his
Yeah,
hair
you
or
couldn't
anything
even.
to tell who he
But
is.
that makes sense. It would be that friend. Um, so then now they're just like out in the ocean, following this whale.
They're following the whale, and they find
And
him
then
out
he first
there.
they're like he wants us to follow him, and then he starts heading north. Like,
Yeah, first they're just sailing out, and he's actually sailing out to the exact coordinates where he killed the female,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he thinks that he'll find him there. And I believe he does ram the boat once. There's not like a huge fight scene, but he rams the boat. And one of the other guys picks up a gun, and Richard Harris is like, "What are you doing? Put that down. This is like me. This is the whale wants me." And so he goes out there. He's going to throw a stick of dynamite in the water. And Charlotte Rampling is, as smart as she is, she, for some reason, as he's lighting a stick of dynamite, tries to go do something. And he ends up dropping the dynamite. So she has to run and pick it up and throw it overboard, which is what she didn't want to happen in the first place. But she set herself up for that. And then she's feeling like ill, either because maybe she hurt the whale or just because she almost died from the dynamite or something. But she's leaning her head over the edge of the boat. And you're like, uh-oh,
Yep.
this is not gonna end well. And we see Orca rushing, and we see her head hanging over the boat, and we see Orca rushing faster. And Richard Harris is like, "Get your fucking head away from there." And he has to go grab her and like tackle her away so that the orca won't jump up and eat her. Pretty soon after this, the red pants guy, her friend, he's not even leaning over the boat. He's like pretty
He's just like
damn
walking on the
safe.
side.
He's like pretty
Yeah.
damn safe, and somehow Orca jumps up and snags him. Like, I don't know how, but
Yeah.
I was just like, fine. I wasn't invested in that
Yeah. Like, all
character.
right.
I didn't care about him. Uh, and Charlotte Rampling has a little bit of a reaction, more than Richard Harris did when his friend died, but
Yeah.
she has a little bit of a reaction. And then when they decide to actually follow the whale even further instead of fight it right here, the whale swims off a ways and sticks its tail out of the water and is like
Yeah. It's like,
beckoning with
come
a
on.
wave of the tail. And then Richard Harris is like, as if we don't understand, he's like, he wants us to follow him. and so they and so they just follow.
The other guy is like, dude, we got to go back. We just killed this guy. Just died. Like what? Like he was like the voice of reason, like the original crew member, like the only other guy like left from the original crew was just like, dude, we got to get out of here. Like we have to go report this death. Like we got to do all this. And he's like, no. And you could tell that like he's just like now it's like he's getting a little crazy. He's getting a little obsessive about like we gotta follow him. Like and we're gonna follow him. Like I don't care what you say,
Yeah.
we're following him.
He's on his mission, and he's not really, even though he doesn't want anyone else to fight, or he seems to think that nobody else is going to get hurt. But obviously
Yeah.
that's not the case. This dude just died. Your other friends have died. Your other friend
Yeah.
died, and then your other friend got her leg bit off. And actually, he does say all this very near the end, so he does eventually come to terms with this. But at this point, he's bent on his battle with the whale, and also seems to think that he owes it to the whale. He has this conversation with Charlotte Rampling, which is a little confusing. We won't get into all the ins and outs of it, but she says to him, if you had a friend that was this distraught and bent on, vengeance, would you give it to him, or would you try to protect him from himself? And and that's sort of the mentality that he wants to take, is to protect him from himself, but he can't do that. It's sort of an honor thing that he feels he owes this whale, that they are equals in what's happened in their life, wives and children's dying, and that this is the only way to settle the score. As a man, that makes a lot of sense. He is obviously a man. Will Sampson as well, the other man, says this exact same thing. Charlotte Rampling doesn't quite agree with this, but is there for the ride anyway. Like, she understands that it's going to happen with or without her, and she might as well go along because she has actually become a bit invested in the Richard Harris character now.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, now they're just like north, dude, and it's just getting cold. Hilarious. Like they're just like they're even like, why are we following this thing? And he's like, well, we're going through these icicles, and like he knows exactly what he's doing. Like he's gonna try to, get us with the ice.
And there's just as they enter the ice level, I'll call it, we see Richard Harris on the stern or the lookout or whatever, and now he's all bundled up. We see one iceberg out there, so we know it's getting close. And now the gorgeous Ennio Morricone ice music comes in too,
Oh
which
yeah.
uh, is just haunting and chilling, and just it's ice level music. You could put it in a
Yeah.
video game, the same way that all of his Western scores sound like a Western movie. It's just
Yeah.
he's such a virtuoso at what he does. Also, as we get into the ice area, we have another narration scene of Charlotte Rampling, and she's laying in bed, and she's topless. She has a sheet on her, but she's just sort of laying sideways in a feminine, not provocative pose, but she looks like a very elegant, beautiful woman in this pose. And she's giving her little log monologue thing with the little sonar things in the background, and just a really great scene, both visually and in emotionally for the scene. Now, the first comparison I want to make with Jaws here is, even though I love the sea adventure part in Orca, it doesn't have quite the same feeling as Jaws. When you're on the boat and you're out there on the hunt in Jaws, it's tense as a viewer. Like, you feel like there's a shark outside. Like, you
Yeah.
feel like you're there. And I watched it as a kid, But for many years after I watched Jaws, I had that feeling every time I went to the ocean. Like, there's sharks here. Like, this is
Yep.
fucked. I got to be on the lookout for sharks. Like, Jaws made you feel that, made you afraid to go in the water. Like, that's the fucking tagline of Jaws, but it's true. It really
Yeah.
did that to people. It did that to me as a kid in the 90s. And it did that to kids and adults and everybody in the 70s when it came out. This movie doesn't quite approach that, but it's
Well, it's
still
just so much
really,
more
really
personal.
cool. Mm-hmm.
They like really lean into the it being like such a killer whales, or he's just pissed at the Nolan character. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like he's just a killer, and like I don't know. It was just, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, you're totally right. It's
the
not at
Richard
all like as
Shaw
scary.
versus Jaws battle, the Richard Shaw versus Jaws battle is a much more uh like, what would you say? It's not that personal thing. It's about the
Yeah,
fight. That's what that's about. It's about the hunt. Whereas this is a very personal thing. And Jaws is made out to be just a monster. It's just a monster. No matter how smart it is and everything, it's a monster. Whereas the orca
yeah,
is not. The orca is a human. That's really what they're trying to get across. And speaking of that, in the very first scene where they meet, where the male orca first meets eyes with Richard Harris on the boat and makes the snapshot in his eye, the whale does this thing where he's staring him down, and then just like a human, he sort of backpedals while still maintaining eye contact, and then like turns over his shoulder to leave. It's like it just looks like a human doing it. It's so human what the way that these whales, what the humans are able to get the whales to do, and also just what the whales are capable of. It's like real acting what I'm seeing from the whales in many scenes.
yeah. It was great. And so now they're like the cold water. I forget how the voice of reason guy gets pwned. Like how does he go? Because that's what's next, right?
Well, the younger sailor guy, he starts freaking out and he wants to go back. He's like, they
Yeah. Oh, and
didn't.
he realizes there's not enough fuel.
Will Sampson realizes there's not enough fuel, and so he's also semi starting a mutiny. But first, the other guy, he's like, he's trying to ready the escape raft or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Richard Harris is like, "Hey, fuck you, get up there and point the spotlight and find me a clear path through this ice." And the dude's like,
Yeah.
"We're not going through this ice. Fuck you, blah blah blah." And as they're arguing, Orca just takes the opportunity to leap out of the water and just snatch this guy. And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna complain? You want to go home, bitch?" Like, grabs
Yeah, I'll
him,
take you home.
takes him to his
He takes him
grave.
home.
But also, this once they're really at this point, they're in the icebergs, and this is
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
set. They built this set,
Dude,
and
it was beautiful.
it looks so amazing. It looks
Yeah.
so fucking incredible for a movie that would not have been. It had a decent budget, but I mean, they got Ennio Morricone and the whales, but it was not a Jaws budget. So to build this massive set of the icebergs, and this is what I really love about old movies that can't use CG. Like CG stuff is okay, and sometimes it's the correct thing to do. But there's so many movies I see where there's real actors standing next to a CG background, and I'm just like, they're not actually there. And there's a disconnect now where I don't feel like I'm not immersed anymore because I can tell that that's not real or that they're not there. I don't care that on this set, those did look like icebergs. I thought they
Oh yeah.
were until I looked it up, but it doesn't even matter. The fact that you can see them standing right next to the stuff and that it is real regardless of whether it's real ice, it's real, they can touch it. It it immerses me so much more in the movie. I like that so much more than just slapping on some CG, because it just looks like a video game. Like, I've seen too much
Yeah.
video game graphics to then go to your movie and give a shit, you know.
Yeah.
Put that's a video game, you know. You might as well have the fucking actors be CG if that's the case, you know.
Right.
I
Right.
just don't like the disconnect between the CG and the real characters. But this set was fucking amazing. It
Yeah. It was
was
great.
one of the
It
most
was so
beautiful
cool.
things I've ever seen. And so Will Sampson, he comes out with a gun, and he's like, "Hey, we don't have any fuel. Like, we need to turn back." And Richard Harris says, "No, there's an emergency thing out there. You can just phone in an SOS, and they'll bring a chopper or whatever for you guys." And he's like, "What about you?" And Richard Harris just kind of laughs or whatever, because at this point he's really resigned to the fact that this battle between him and the whale, he doesn't know that he's gonna survive this. He doesn't know what's gonna happen. Although he does decide that he's not gonna shoot him. He decides that
Yeah.
it's going to be a fair fight, and he's gonna use a spear. But before anything more intense happens, there is the scene where he is now in sort of a grieving state, and he goes into the cabin, and Charlotte Rampling is there, and she sees him, and she sits up, and she just says, "Come, I'll warm you." And so he gets in bed with her, and it's a great scene. "Come, I'll warm
Yeah.
you." Like, it's not sexual, it's nothing like
No.
that. It's just like Charlotte Rampling, she it's like such a feminine thing to do. It's such a motherly thing to do. And at this point, she can't do anything else. Well, he needs the comfort and the warmth, but she can't do anything else, and she can't help him. She can't fight the whale. She can't convince him to do anything else. So this is what she does, is to just hold him and warm him. And that's a beautiful scene. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
any man going off to possibly face his death, this is what he would want. This is going to
Yeah.
fill him with just a little bit more confidence and bravado and masculinity to then go out and face uh, the killer whale in this
I would have jumped in
scenario.
that bed so fast. I would have just been like, "All right,
I
hold me."
I really like
Just-
Charlotte Rampling. I would have been out of my clothes and jump in the
I
bed.
know, dude. Right?
And he
Yeah.
was flirting with her too, but at this point in the movie,
He's just so broken.
Yeah, he's so broken and dejected.
Yeah.
And about that, broken and dejected, during filming, Richard Harris's wife was photographed on a beach or whatever with some other
Yeah,
man.
I heard about that.
And
Yeah.
so he was,
Was drinking like
yeah,
crazy.
he started drinking, and he was like, he was gonna fly back and kill them like
Yeah.
any man would. And so now, and once you know that, you actually see that broken, dejected thing in the character come out more, because
Yeah.
he's having to deal with his cheating whore of a wife. Like, he's actually going through so much emotion in his real life, as well as
So crazy.
what he's having to go through as an actor with.
It just helps the scene so much. Just
Yeah.
like,
It's the same emotion. It's a broken, dejected thing, even though, it's different scenarios, but it's a similar emotion. And now you really see that coming out, and you see it being even that more real. You know that
Yeah.
that it is real. So I thought that was an interesting aspect. If I was Richard Harris, I don't know if I would want that in the Wikipedia about maybe my most famous movie, but that's what
Yeah.
happened. And
But I mean, it's just,
Yeah, and we feel more for him now, and
Yeah,
it helps the performance a little bit for me.
absolutely. Yeah. So then now the next scene is the like whale pushing the iceberg towards the boat, right?
hmm Will Sampson is now
Hilarious.
he he's not against Nolan. He's made his point that he's against what's going on, but he gets in there and he phones the SOS in the ship as the iceberg is being pushed. And it's a great scene because it also parallels him pushing his mate.
Yeah.
So he's pushing the iceberg. Charlotte Rampling runs up while the two men are arguing and says there's an iceberg coming at us against the current. And so he pushes the iceberg. Richard Harris gets the spear and he's like, he has to come up for breath eventually. So when he does, he nails him with the spear, but the iceberg has already gathered so much momentum that it hits the ship anyway and crashes the ship into the bigger icebergs, which are massive, by the way. Like they built this shit. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
insane that they built these things that are like full size, like rock climbing wall type stuff or something. And the thing avalanches on the boat and kills Will Sampson.
It's crushed by ice cubes. And
Crushed.
like
They even have a scene, an image of his hand sticking out of the ice,
yeah.
and one final clump of ice just smashes on the hand. But now the ship is going down.
Yeah.
And so they're,
Fast. I mean that thing.
yeah, because I don't know if the whale also hit it, but the iceberg hit it. It hit into another iceberg. The ship is completely capsizing and turning on its side. And so they're tossing stuff out onto this big sheet of ice. Uh, and then Charlotte Rampling and Richard Harris jump out on the sheet of ice. And now this is amazing. Like the sheet of ice thing that they're just running on it. And Orca is busting up through the fucking ice and he's shotgunning the Orca every time he
Yeah.
busts out. And it just keeps cornering them as they're running from place to place. And eventually Richard Harris gets isolated on one sheet of ice and Orca pushes the ice out into the center of
Yeah.
the frozen pool to have their battle. And now apparently Charlotte Rampling and Richard Harris decide that guns are the thing, right? So he's
Yeah.
already shotgunning, and he loses the gun though, and so she tosses him the big rifle, and he's on the thing. Orca pops up in the water, and they're meeting face to face again, and he's aiming the gun, but he can't do it. He can't shoot. And even
Yeah.
Charlotte Rampling yells at him to fucking shoot. And she's the one who he's the marine biologist or
Yeah.
whatever who wants to protect the whales. But he can't do it.
Isn't there another close up to the eyes? Isn't that's another
Mhm.
scene where it's like, yeah,
We're kind of going back and forth between Orca eye and him like sighting down the barrel his eyes, and he just can't do it. And Orca fucking in one of the most incredible scenes I've ever seen in my life, Orca jumps up, hits the edge of the iceberg, and tilts it up like we're playing fucking Mario 64 or something. And Richard Harris is on the far end. Orca
sliding.
is chest up, mouth open down at the bottom part, and he's sliding down towards the open mouth of the orca. And it's just incredible. It lasts like 30 seconds, this whole like
Yeah.
iceberg up, and they show a wide shot of the
Yeah,
iceberg
yeah.
like tilted and everything. Like I'm not sure
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
how they did that, but tremendous. And but the whale doesn't eat him. He doesn't slide into the mouth. That's weak. That's too jaws.
Yeah. Too easy.
So he falls into the water. Now Orca is
Plan.
circling him, just fucking around, circling him, and he's just paddling there in the water. And Orca flips him with his tail launches him like 100 feet in the air or something, and we just see like his
Yeah.
body flying through the air. He smashes against the iceberg and apparently just dies on contact, or is
Yeah.
so hurt that he tumbles down. He falls into the water, and we just see him sink. The Ennio Morricone music is going fucking nuts. Um, he sinks into the water. Charlotte Rampling is, like I said, now she's invested in the character. She likes him,
Yeah.
at
Yeah. Yeah.
least respects him and stuff. At least sees him as a human being now, or sees his humanity. And so she's kneeling there at the edge, watching him go. Orca comes up now. They meet eye to eye, and he recognizes her as a good person, and just swims away.
Yeah.
Just swims away and leaves. And now we get a gorgeous ending shot with the music, with
Helicopter.
the
When the helicopter
whole
picks up the girls.
scene, the whole
Dude,
the set,
underwater with those icebergs.
all the iceberg. Charlotte Rampling, real small there against the sunset, as
Yeah.
Orca swims away, as you see the fins swim away. And now the helicopter, the sound of the chopper blades kicks in, because Will Sampson called the SOS. And that's basically the end of the movie, except for that's the emotional end of the movie. But now
Yeah.
we're treated to just a little bit of underwater scene, and maybe the most beautiful song in the whole movie.
Oh
Uh,
my God, right?
uh, a complete like vocal track or whatever
Yeah.
of this woman singing. Just this haunting, beautiful song that I don't remember the lyrics, but it's literally like written and composed for the movie, and
Oh,
has like
really? Oh, that's
lyrics
cool.
not about whales, but about like the loss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Alluding to the loss of the family and everything, and the loss of the loved one. Like it's a gorgeous, gorgeous song, and we're just
Yeah, it
treated
was
to.
giving Snake Eater, but for whales, dude. Whale Eater is what they should have called it, dude.
and And then when the movie ends and the credits end, they credit the song right there, which I was really happy about for like a long time. It's like Carol
Yeah.
something that was the singer, and and of course Ennio Morricone wrote and composed it.
Dude, but that scene where with that song where he's just like the whale, like it's the whale's point of view just swimming under the freaking icebergs. Like it was just gorgeous. Like, oh my
Mhm.
God, it was such a cool way to end it. Like, and then that song, like, oh, it was awesome. It was so
It
awesome.
was so awesome,
I
and
straight clapped, dude. I was just me by myself. I'm just like,
I was.
it was awesome.
Yeah, I was by myself, and throughout the whole movie, I was like talking to the movie. Like when they killed Jaws, I was just like, oh baby, this movie is gonna be
Yeah.
fucking good. Like the
Oh yeah.
and all the kill scenes, even though the kill scenes are emotional, like they're so sudden and ridiculous that I laughed at every single one, except maybe
Yeah.
Will Sampson. But like when when the orca comes up and bites Bo Derek's already casted leg off, I was just like, dude, that is the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my life. Like they just bust her in half in that fucking
Yeah.
scene. And then Orca, like when he burns down the city and is popping off, that's one thing. But when he eats the girl's leg and starts popping off,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like that's a real like you're watching that whale out there like celebrate and taunt you after he
Yeah.
just like chewed off that girl's leg. Like that is like a powerful thing. Like that is a real fucking like taunt kind of thing. Like I got you. Like I really got you. And I'm gonna swim out like a mile and a half and jump around
And
where
you're
you
gonna
can't do
follow
anything
me.
about it. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
forced to come out and get me now.
Yeah, it was great, man. That movie was just excellent.
Hmm. I I enjoyed it so much. I think just fun is the right
Yeah.
word for it. I just had so much fun watching the movie. Like I said, in comparison to Jaws, um, there's not, first of all, there's not the artistic masterpiece of what's going on in Jaws. Like, a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's, Jaws, it's whatever, it's good. But then you watch the movie. Like, some people are also like, oh, Steven Spielberg, he's whatever, like, E.T.'s cool, blah, blah, blah. But then you watch the movies and you realize what an artistic uh, masterpiece these films are from beginning to end, from every crew member. The lighting guys have 1,000 movies under their belt. The sound crew has won awards. You know what I mean? So the professionalism, um, and cinematic wonder of something like Jaws, you can't compare it to Orca. But Orca is just so much fun, and also is artistically brilliant as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
Ennio Morricone does a lot to help that, but so does
Yeah.
the realism, the acting of the whales, the beauty of the set. Like, they could have gone pretty cheap on that iceberg stuff, but they didn't.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that was the
Well, they
coolest
could.
part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was just great because like you think about these like creature attack of the creature movies, and like this one was just so filled with emotion. Like they're like unlike any of those kind of movies. Like it was just so like well done, and like the characters were great. Like it wasn't, you would think looking at the cover and looking at like, oh dude, this movie is going to be a B movie, it's
Three
going to be
years after
cheap, it's going to be
Jaws.
funny, you're going to laugh, it's going to be a Jaws knockoff. But then you watch it and you're like, this movie is so deep, and it didn't have to be, and it like was, and it was done well, and it just was such a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it could have been a parody. It could have been a
Yeah.
joke, but it tried to be a real movie and succeeded. Great acting performances. I love Will Sampson.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I really like everybody in the movie. Everybody, the sailor or the fisherman who's like pressuring him to go out and actually hunt the whale. I've seen that guy in a lot of movies as this sort of like small role kind of guy, but does a great job. Charlotte Rampling, um, is my favorite character in the movie. I think she, without her, I don't know that the movie really holds up. Without
Yeah.
her, I think, even though Richard Harris's dramatic performance is brilliant, her knowledge and guidance, and like I said, translating for the whales is really the core of the
Yeah.
movie. That's the foundation. Like, she holds everything together.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like if she wasn't in the movie and it was replaced by the Will Sampson character, like it almost would be not be as believable, and it wouldn't be as like, it would have almost been a little bit more jokey, you know what I mean? Like if that was the case. I mean, I think that, well, with him being in the movie, like, it was still impactful and great, and like, and I like how subtle it was. But like if his character was the one, like I said, that what, and she wasn't, then it would have, the movie would have just completely been different. It would have taken a lot of the emotional, sort of realistic, like it would have just been like kind of what you were talking about how you hate it, and when they are just like, he would just be there to be like, well, this is what's going on, blah blah, over explain. I think, at least, like I think her being in this movie really made this movie just so much more emotional and so much more believable, and just like it was just great. Yeah.
Yeah, she adds a credibility and believability to the movie, because Will Sampson, I mean, the first scene that he's there, the second time I watched it, I noticed that when you see her in the distance reading the book to the whale on the shore, Will Sampson is actually standing nearby too. But when he's actually introduced as a character who speaks, um, he just comes out of nowhere. And he's this big
Yeah.
Native American guy. It's kind of a stereotype, him talking about the animals and this spiritual stuff. But he does work really well. Like you said, if he was the only one doing that sort of thing, it would be a little bit corny. But Will Sampson is a great actor. He's the big dude from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he also played Sitting Bull in a movie. And he's part of the Muskogee Nation. I'll mention that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it
Oh,
right,
cool.
but
Yeah.
where I live, with all the Native American reservations around, I talk to a lot of people, and most of them say that they feel the term Native American is just very empty and they don't really like it. They would prefer to be called by their tribe or something. But of course, you don't know what everybody's tribe is. That'd be like
Right.
saying, looking at someone and being like, "Oh yeah, I know you're from Washington" or something. Like you wouldn't really be able to do that. But most of the ones that I talk to that are older, they remember when they used to be called Indians, and they actually say, "Hey, I kind of liked it better because at least an Indian is something. Like a Native
Yeah.
American, if you were born here, you're a Native American too. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're like one of these indigenous tribes." And the term Indio refers to indigenous people. So saying Indio or, Indian, well, Indian is a different group of people. But for me and for the people that I've talked to, Native American is just kind of an empty term. But for now, I suppose we'll use it. That is what, you know, PC culture or whoever has determined that we should call these people. But from
Yeah.
what I know, it is certainly not the Native Americans who have decided that that was what they want to be called. It was somebody else trying to be nice to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But regardless of that, Will Sampson is a great actor. Like I said, he was the dude. I don't think he has any lines in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I think that's his whole character is just the big silent Native American guy.
I mean, obviously she was definitely like great, but I mean, I obviously Nolan's character or Richard Harris's character was just great. Like I really his arc was just so awesome to see him like go from this like playful, sailor who's just like a, stereotypical, sailor who's silly and blah blah and I'm gonna get this fish and I'm gonna make some money and blah blah to like being this emotional wreck at the end who is just essentially like giving himself to this whale because of how bad he felt and like it was just such a great arc and such an awesome
And
you know
the honor that
character.
he shows
Yeah.
towards the end,
Yeah. Yeah,
that
like
I really like.
just just so great and then you
Mm.
add the fact of all his personal stuff that was happening during the filming of this like really was such a great factor because like yeah I would hate having that on my Wikipedia but like knowing that made me respect him more because he was able to sort of use those emotions and better the film and like that is just so great because some people could just shut down and not do that and the fact that he was just like made for a better film and so that is probably what an outstanding performance but yeah him and Charlotte like they definitely were my favorite for sure
Yeah.
as
And then
as
of
far as
course I
actors
think
go.
you just have to mention the whales. The whales
Oh
do
yeah.
real acting in the movie. It's
Yeah.
they obviously there's camera work and the trainers are getting them to do stuff, but the whales are believably giving me emotions. And I don't know if I've ever seen a movie where that's the case, except like cats and dogs a little bit,
Yeah,
but certainly not from a whale.
it was excellent. Yeah, they definitely rocked it.